Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business psychology and marketing and how all that stuff works together. Today, I'm talking with Lisa Brazelton, who has over 26 years of executive leadership and entrepreneurial experience. As an 8-time business executive in faculty management, executive coaching, mindfulness training, Lisa is dedicated to helping leaders understand their deeper purpose and unlocking the gifts hidden in the human heart. The author of The Greatest Gift and soon to be released Becoming Self-Mastered, Lisa spends her time writing, facilitating programs to help people find balance, emotional stability, and practical applications to mindfulness, meditation, and self-mastery. Lisa, how are you doing today?
Hi, Tad. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing great.
You're very, very welcome. Is there anything that you want to add to that I might have missed?
Well, I think what I'd like to share is where I'm at right now, outside of really being a business owner and a CEO, is I love this area of mindfulness, and I've been in this space for a long time. So I've been working with companies to be a mindfulness strategist and an advisor. Because I really want to help business leaders really springboard to a higher personal and professional level of success.
Okay, outstanding. All right, well then let's roll right into the show.
Okay, let's do it.
Got a few questions here. That the idea here is we ask these questions because a lot of people that I believe are in the audience that I've talked to in my consulting and coaching career, these questions come up over and over and over again.
Mm.
They've come up for me. They come up for most everybody I talk to. And the first one is, what's one business or life decision that if you could change it, knowing what you knew now, that you would change and you would do something different?
That's an excellent question. Um, well, the good thing is that I'm on the other side of what I woulda, coulda, shoulda changed, right? We do have that foresight
All
and
right.
the insight, now finally, right after having to go through some extraordinarily difficult experiences. As somebody who's had businesses for 20, almost 27 years, I mean, there's one moment in particular that if I could change anything, Tad, I would absolutely. And many years ago, I had the opportunity of building facilities in Canada, and it was a great opportunity. I was running another company at the time. I decided to go for it, and things were really challenging, but they were exciting. And I remember very specifically, as I was exhausted, I was building as a U.S. citizen. I was constantly going back and forth to Canada, and there was a moment where I could either slow down or accelerate, and I was getting pressure from a client to continue building other facilities within Canada. And I remember very specifically, I was driving. I know where I was. I know where I was headed to. I know what I was wearing. And I was very uncomfortable with having to make a decision to either slow down or expand. And the pressure was very great to move forward. And I didn't stop to really moderate my own hesitation. And this may seem like a very exaggerated, tragic event, but that decision of not trusting my intuition, right? And not
Mm-hmm.
slowing down like I thought I should do, it actually not only a year and a half later cost me millions of dollars that I actually invested in this, my entire company, 40 employees, and I went bankrupt.
Wow. So, okay. So that is definitely a big one. Um,
It's a big one.
all right. And there's a lesson there. I mean, it may sound trite. It may sound overly simple, but it's something that I've believed for years and years and years is trust your gut. If deep down in your gut's telling you something, listen. It doesn't mean you always have to take that advice, but listen. Always at least listen.
Right, absolutely. And I think one of the greatest things is that I overrode my intuition to the pressure I was feeling.
Yeah.
And
Under,
what a great lesson that was. I mean, I guess I'm grateful that I survived.
Understood. A hard lesson, but yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to again make little of that at all, but now you know. And a lot of us, I know I've done that for many, many times where I just try to power through because maybe I think it should be, maybe other people think it should be, but trust your gut.
Trust your gut. And I will tell you that one of the things that I do now is I teach people how to listen to their intuition, because we don't always
There you,
know how to listen to our intuition, right? It's very
exactly.
difficult. There's
Exactly.
a lot of information that's coming to us, especially today, especially in the environment that we're living in, and all of the unrest and unsettled and uncertainty.
Hmm.
And it's very hard for us to hear what are those quiet whispers within ourselves.
And we're built for that. I mean, that's something that I've learned over the years also,
Yeah,
is we're built to do that.
right,
And a lot of us have stopped listening. So
right.
excellent, excellent advice. Um, okay. The next one is,
Okay.
what is one business or life decision that you made that's worked out super, super positive?
So is another great question. And so I'm going to use a word that I love, and it's called paradox. um, so it's what I'm doing now, right? So out of a difficult situation came freedom. Out of
Hmm.
being locked and in the struggle and fear and real significant personal issues, what came out of that was freedom. And so what I'm doing right now, instead of thinking that, oh gosh, one day I want to facilitate and I want to teach and I really want to continue writing and I want to explore consciousness and really be on the other side of that. Well, I'm doing that now. And so I'm not being motivated by money. I'm being
Hmm.
motivated by creating the programs to help others to become more mindful. So I love what I'm doing now because I'm working with leaders and companies that kind of change this entire paradigm from, from kind of profit first mentality to what is the greater purpose of what you're doing?
Hmm.
And
What
how
is your
can you align?
purpose?
And
Hmm.
how can you align with that better?
And I'm just myself. I have found, and it's in really strange places. In a book on sales, one of the best sales books um, that I have read in recent years, talks about that the one of the biggest problems with salespeople is what they're doing is not aligned with their purpose. That's why they come across insincere. Is that if what you're selling is you believe it will benefit someone, if you believe it is for the greater, it would help them, it would help everybody, then you really don't sell it. You just talk to
Right,
people about it.
right,
But that is an alignment of what you're doing with your purpose, and in an area that most people don't even think about, sales. So I mean, it does cross boundaries like that.
right.
Um,
Absolutely.
Being somebody like you are, that is creative, um, that is listening maybe more than a lot of us do. In my world, when I'm being creative or attempting to be creative, I'll get writer's block. I'll get stuck on in the middle of a project. What do I do next? How do I break this down? Do you have any techniques or procedures or processes that help you get unstuck when you
Mm,
get stuck? Because
mm,
everybody gets stuck.
mm.
How
Everybody
did
gets stuck.
well,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you get stuck. If you do, how do you get out of it? How do you start going forward again?
Well, you can imagine how stuck I was feeling when the proverbial wheel literally stopped, right?
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago. And I am an avid meditator. So meditation has gotten me through some of the most painful and stressful times in my life. And quite frankly, I couldn't have overcome it without it. So how I quiet my mind is how I get unstuck.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just,
Okay.
if I just may add just one thing about that, it's not
Sure.
that
No,
easy
please
to,
do.
it's not that easy to quiet our minds, right? It's not easy to do that, but it's through practice, which again, some of the techniques and the tools and the real practical applications that I provide people that I've been doing for 20 years are really about, even if it's just for 20 minutes, getting into the quieting of the mind, which calms the central nervous system. And the way that we sit in our posture actually can create spinal fluid to increase that, then changes the flow of chemicals within our body so that our body does actually become more calm. So there's all these different things, and I love science and neuroscience. And so quieting the mind is a process, but that is the best and quickest way of getting unstuck, because then genius comes into play, discovery that we didn't even know existed, because we're not thinking about all the gazillion things that are going through our minds. Here's a crazy statistic, but by the time we're 40 years old, on average, we have about 65,000 thoughts a day. Now, here's even more
Oh,
extraordinary. Listen to this. We only are conscious of 5% on a daily basis.
yes. I haven't heard that exact statistic, but I've heard similar things about the mind and how it works and just how much we just miss because of whatever. Yeah. No, that is, yeah.
So that's how we get unstuck, is that when we quiet our minds, all the genius that sits in the unconscious and the subconscious mind we get to tap into it.
Get to see it, tap into it. Excellent. Excellent. Um, okay. So one more question that I have anyway is, if you were starting over, knowing what you know today, what would you do?
So what I would do, well, as an entrepreneur, I am, and like many entrepreneurs, they're ahead of their time, right? So back in 2005, I developed conscious curriculum for corporations. Now it's called workplace wellness, right? And it wasn't even called leadership training at the time, really. But if I had to do it over again, I would have persevered through the economic crisis, the housing crisis that we had in 6, 7, and 8, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I would have continued, because I was really tapping into what we now call the mindfulness movement. I was doing this work back in the mid 2000s when people had no idea what this was really about. I mean, it was barely talked about. So if I had to do it all over again, I would have stayed the course, because I think I'd be in a very different place today if I had.
Excellent advice. Excellent. And I'm similar on my side in different areas, but yeah. One thing I like to bring up to people is we were alluding to earlier is, is your purpose aligned with what you're doing, but also is your passion. Because, what gets me out of bed at this point is not going to work. It's what I want to get out of bed for.
Right.
Okay. So awesome. Really appreciate that. I mean, really insightful. Love the answers. And really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you.
It's getting time. We're wrapping up here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to part with that maybe you'd like to let the listeners know how they can find you? If they have something that they're interested in, where can they go? Anything along those lines?
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm one of the greatest gifts that I think I've been given in this lifetime is the ability to write. And I'm very passionate about writing programs that help individuals and, quite frankly, companies, right? I mean, for all people, to provide support and manage their mental and emotional well-being. And there is no greater time than right now. And so I have a 6-week program that I call Stop, Drop, and Breathe. It's a wonderful program. I know, isn't it
Love the
great?
title. I love the
Isn't it
title.
great?
Yeah.
I mean, and I've been doing this kind of work for the last 2 years. If you can believe it, it is creating. So I have this 6-week program. I have a 3-month program called the Foundations, the Discipline of Thought. And then I have a 12-month program called the Recalibration. It's Principles into Self-Mastery. So the 6-week program kind of mimics and mirrors what the other programs are, and that is it's bringing people together in small intimate groups from all over the world and via Zoom, right? So I
Hmm.
started this 2 years ago before Zoom became a household name.
Right.
But really, these groups are meant to, along with curriculum that I've created, is having the ability to be heard and supported, right? I mean, we may be on Zoom calls now all the time for everything from, business meetings to what we're doing now
Hmm. Right.
to remote learning with school and our children. And but rarely are we working with people or being in the space with people that is not work related. That it's really about how do we build um, the results that we need in our lives in incredible, amazing ways. So, this is a place to be heard and supported.
Hmm.
Really shifting out of fear-based thinking. I've created many, many, many techniques and tools and practices that can help people in meditation, that can be effective and sustainable, by the way, which is something that people really struggle with. I help people in these programs, especially Stop, Drop, and Breathe. I mean, how to reset, press the reset button when our emotions get heightened. That's
Hmm.
not what a lot of people do. But on the other hand, it's really connecting with like minded, like hearted people in these small, intimate group settings virtually. So, Stop, Drop, and Breathe is a 6-week program. It meets once a week for 6 weeks. The 3-month foundation meets for once a month, and then the 12-month program meets once a month as well. And they're just life altering, transformational bodies of work with people who really want the tools to change and to step into their own creative genius. So, people can contact me at Sage Prosperity Partners. My email address is lbrazelton at sageprosperitypartners with an s.com. Check us out online.
Okay. And I
Yeah.
will make sure that is in the show notes so people can find those locations as well.
Thank you.
Okay. You're very, very welcome. Thanks again. And thanks to everybody that's listening. Have a safe and productive week and be the very, very best at whatever you are at right now. Until next
Absolutely.
time, this is Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye now.
Thank you, Ted. Bye bye.